Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
In honor of Black History Month, we'd like to pay tribute and showcase the great defining Black characters and figures the world has come to love.
This year, we're honoring 3 of the real-life historical heroes and icons brought to life on film by the late, great Chadwick Boseman.
So without further delay, let's explore the history of 42 on Black History Heroes 2023. All right, Dragon, I'm excited about this one. I think we have a really solid lineup this year, and isn't it freaking crazy? Like, Chadwick, come on, Chadwick. On top of playing Black Panther, basically the African-American Superman, the Black Superman, because he's not even African-American. He's just straight up African.
True.
Kind of check myself there. Yeah. The dude has 3 icons under his belt. I mean, he is it was such a crazy talent loss, man. It's I'm still kind of reeling from it.
Yeah, and it's kind of before and between movies, like with Black Panther too, which is also at very different points. So think of it. You have 42, which is way before Civil War, Captain America: Civil War, and then you have something after that with we get on up, and then you have something right before Black Panther with Marshall. So they're all very much different points in his introduction to that iconic role. He could rest his laurels on instantly, but this kind of gets him there. Is the fact that he could rest his laurels in any one of these performances, yet he does. He gets 4.
Right.
He knocks them all out of the ballpark. It does wonderfully.
All right, so Dragon, this was my first time watching this movie, as it's going to be the first time for me watching all 3 of these. So that's going to be exciting. It's going to do half the work for me on memoirs this month, for one. But I quite like this. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. I think Boseman's performance is obviously the high point, and I would also say there's a solid argument to make that this is up there with maybe one of Harrison Ford's best performances. This is low key great Harrison Ford stuff. Very I feel like he's kind of a chameleon in this role a little bit.
Yeah.
I do have some nitpicks with this movie that I'm sure we'll get into. I don't necessarily think the structure is all that great. There's not I don't know. I feel like it's not exactly a cradle to the grave story, but it's I don't know, Dragon. I just feel like I wish there was a little bit more of an interesting hook or framing device to it, because as it stands, it's all really good stuff, and there's certainly some really harrowing racism scenes in this movie, especially from fucking Alan Tudyk of all people. Who would have thought?
I know, right?
I mean, Jesus, Alan. But yeah, so there's some really, really harrowing standalone scenes, and they're all held up by Boseman. I think this might be. I don't know. It's going to be interesting, because I feel like every movie that we do, it's going to be no, this is Boseman's best. No, this is Boseman's best. I have a feeling that's going to happen, especially with James Brown. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about Marshall. We'll get there. But I mean, what I really like about this performance from Boseman is the fact that he is so damn reserved until it counts. It's this is why I chose the image that we have, is because I feel like the image we have really kind of represents the struggle that he has throughout the whole movie, and it's really compelling. Like I said, I don't know. I just feel like the movie, it lacks a little something as far as narrative drive. It's very good, but I don't necessarily think it's super memorable. But yeah, I did like it a lot. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on it, to compare notes, because I know that you and I are both not sports fans.
Sport? What's a sport? No, no, yeah. So,
Did you know there's this thing called the Super Bowl coming up, apparently?
we don't have time to talk about toilets right now.
You know what's funny? I asked Laser Dude if Sunday was going to be an issue for him because of the Super Bowl, because we're doing the debate. And he was like, nah, hockey's the only sport I care about. And I'm like, yeah, I should have figured that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay, so yes, this is possibly one of the most well-made baseball biopics I've ever seen. Mind you, I've only seen like I think two, but still, I mean, from what I understand,
I assume it's like this and what, like Moneyball?
no, this
I'm
and the
guessing?
Babe. No, this and the John Goodman movie, The Babe.
Oh, okay.
This,
You've not seen Moneyball? I think you'd like Moneyball.
Huh. Right. Well,
I think you'd really like Moneyball.
Okay, well, either way, point being,
Anyways.
from what I understand, this is also a heralded baseball biopic, and I'm hard pressed to disagree. I thought this is great, even to a non-baseball fan. This is wonderful. Of course, Jackie Robinson. I mean, even in school, man, reading about Jackie Robinson, the guy always did intrigue me when I read about him way back in the day. And so seeing a movie like done based on that character, honestly, I got to be honest. Before I even knew, I had seen 42 before I knew who Chadwick Boseman even was. Admittedly, though, it was. I don't think I fully appreciated it the first time I watched it. I think when I first watched it way back when, I was like, okay, well, this is good. And then, of course, when I watched it again, I'm not saying just because of the Boseman effect. When I watched it again, like when it was on TV and I kind of taped it, I was like, man, this is really good.
Yeah. I could see it being one of those movies that just kind of surprises you.
Yeah, and then of course, looking back on it now, after everything, it's like you really kind of see like what Boseman is doing. Oh my god, he's really amazing in what he's doing right now. So here's like, so basically, so Jackie Robinson is an important and inspiring figure on his own, and you in this movie you see the struggle, you see the determination to basically let his exceptionalism shine. Again, kind of the black excellence of it all really shine here, and it's wonderful. And Boseman gives the best way I can describe it, and I think ultimately this kind of stuff that kind of gets him into playing Black Panther ultimately, is that Boseman gives a performance that is in many ways, it's an earnest performance like Chris Evans gives in Captain America: The First Avenger. It's very much just kind of like an Americana, like that's no, seriously though. It's kind of like
that's a really weird analogy, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just the fact that this is like the all-American hero story.
Yeah,
This is very much like again, Chris Evans, kind of this humble guy from Brooklyn. He becomes,
I imagine Chris Evans, like that Captain America, like pre-transformation Steve Rogers would be great pals with Jackie Robinson.
That's what I'm saying. Yes. So there is. So that's the thing. So there's a lot. Honestly, a lot of people have said. I'm not the first to say it, but I absolutely agree that there is a genuine, sincere earnestness to what Boseman does in his performance and his portrayal.
I mean, like I said, the word I keep coming back to is understated, Dragon.
Well, yeah, it is Well, that's the thing, because Jackie Robinson, at least the impression I get is he was an understated guy. He just wanted to do what he loved.
Like, there's one explosive scene from him in the movie, and it's a very justified explosive scene. But other than that, the whole movie and his whole performance is like a tightrope walk of keeping his emotions in check, and it's really compelling in that way.
I mean, basically, this movie does have kind of an element of a very grounded version of the first Avenger to a degree, where you have a legend is born before our eyes. And again, this is the role. I mean, this really was the role that put Boseman on the map for a lot of people. This was, absolutely. This is probably this is the most likely. Basically, this is the most I'm likely to ever care about baseball with this movie, if I'm being frank. I mean, this is like
I'm telling you, you'd really like Moneyball, but no, I don't doubt it.
I'm saying this is a really strong film. I mean, I really enjoy every time I go back to it, and I'm finding kind of new things and like kind of really great. I don't know. There's something really well made. And I think it captured the spirit of the guy they're telling the story of. And it's just I don't know. There's something that just kind of sings about this movie. It just kind of works. And one could say it's a grand slam.
Indeed.
As one of our old friends used to say.
All right. So, what's the background on this, Dragon? How did we get here?
So, from what I understand, originally Spike Lee, he'd wanted to do this movie for a long time, and he was going to write and direct it, and he was eyeing Denzel Washington, the star, as Jackie Robinson.
If Spike Lee directed this movie, the racism scenes would be so much more harsh.
That's the thing.
Not to say they're not already harsh, but I'm just saying it would go like above and beyond.
It's this weird thing, Tiki, where I don't just want to play this blind with blinders on or anything, but it's kind of weird when you look at the movies that we're going to talk about. Chad Boseman, I forget who did Marshall. I have to check that, but at least two of the directors of those three, possibly all three, we end up with white directors, but they somehow, I think, really capture the essence of the source material. And I'm not saying like we should blindly say Spike Lee would have done an amazing job with this. I mean, he probably would have done a good job with it, but I don't know if he wouldn't have made the movie that we have here with us right now.
You say Spike Lee, like, I don't necessarily think inspirational is one of his strong suits.
That's the thing. It's just, I think ultimately you're right about it. Spike Lee's not really, he's more impassioned and relevancy.
He's more of like a message guy, you know?
There you go. Yeah, he is message.
Like, there's no sort of morality. Like, there's no sort of dark, like, modern context that you can put onto the Jackie Robinson story.
So essentially what happened here is this was in development heck for years. There's a lot of creative differences. I'm sure Spike Lee having a lot of opinions on the movie, I'm sure.
I could totally picture Will Smith being signed on for this at one point.
Well, that's the thing. So Denzel Washington.
Denzel. Yeah, of course.
So Spike Lee wanted Denzel for this, and that's the thing. So then he had went to Turner, then Columbia, then Warner Brothers, and just they kind of shopped around for a bit, and then So kind of Spike Lee fell off the project. They went with Brian Helgeland, if I'm saying his name right. He was who directed and he wrote this, and this is the guy who did A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger.
I'm sorry, what?
The guy who A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale, really?
Yeah, the Heath Ledger movie. Yeah,
that is so fucking random, dude.
So that's the thing. I mean, I picked the most notable thing from his directing.
That's freaking weird because A Knight's Tale is the movie that arguably put Heath Ledger on the map.
So that's the thing. In many respects, while again, I think nowadays people, I don't know how audiences feel about this movie today. Now, mind you, when I say today, it wasn't that long ago. It was probably 10 years ago, but still 10 years ago. It's still a while. I for the life of me, I don't know if people are going to look back on this and like with the lenses we look at now and saying this is, we could have done this so much better now with the way we represent things. But I don't know. It's the fact that this was a star-making turn for Chadwick Boseman. I think it really did come across really strongly. And I think what really helps this movie shine is what I'm about to get into next year. So Rachel Robinson, the real life, widow of Jackie Robinson, who's still around during this movie, she was very involved in the making of it. She gave a lot of notes.
She must have been like, I mean, I don't like, of course, I don't mean any disrespect here, but she must have been ancient.
Probably. So they cast Chadwick Boseman. He got married to this. Chad Boseman was a complete unknown. He was a character guy. He's like, I think what he had done was supporting work in like a couple films at this point, but he had mostly been a TV guy, and he kind of put in a few bit parts. And I think most he did is like a few kind of forgettable supporting stuff. So this they wanted to cast an unknown as Jackie Robinson and his wife, and that's what they did. So they cast Chadwick Boseman, and I think Boseman in this movie, what he did is he basically did what basically put him down in the history books here, is that he put in the work, and that's what he did in all three of these roles we're going to talk about this month. He did all the baseball training. He studied so much Jackie Robinson footage to get all like the little intro, the whole putting the rubbing the dirt on his hands and doing like the little kind of dance back and forth when he's he's running between the bases, like all the Robinson kind of shtick. And he did a number of his. He didn't do all of his own stunts because it would have been really dangerous to have your lead actor, who's like the whole thing resting on his shoulders, and do all these stunts and all the baseball stuff. But he would at times call out the stunt guys.
Tom Cruise is in the corner, like,
just rolling his eyes, like, yeah,
weak.
Yeah, show me the money. And Cuba Gooding Jr.'s like, that's my line. So no. So I heard that Boseman, he basically would kind of call out the stunt guys occasionally. He's like, no, you got to do it like this, and he probably would possibly step in and do the stunt to kind of capture the Jackie Robinson movement of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing, from what I understand, now a lot of biopics would probably tout this sort of thing. From what I understand, though, this thing was ridiculously accurate to real life events. Like, they didn't necessarily skimp on any details. Like, in most, occasionally your baseball super fans will point out.
Well, I mean, like I said, like the Alan Tudyk scene is pretty damn raw. Like, I can imagine a lot of that is probably word for word.
Well, that's the thing, Tiki. Here's the thing. So without factoring the semantics of, I'm sure your baseball historians will say, no, that hit didn't happen exactly that way, or this game happened to that game, and so not factoring in that. There were two.
One of the things I like about the movie structurally is the fact that the story does not come down to any one big game.
Yeah. That's the thing we don't see. Here's the thing, for example, I don't know historically how this went, because, again, not a baseball fan, folks, I don't have to tell you. I have to imagine they either did not win the World Series, because, again, they won the game to go to the World Series. Now, we not see that. Now, you'd imagine that's your big third act, you'd imagine. But we didn't do that, and I'm going to imagine probably because they didn't win or something. But again, it's probably like a life thing. Like, either it wasn't cinematic, or I think most likely it's just like we don't need that part of the story.
I mean, I kind of lean that direction, because really I feel like the story,
what's it going to
like
be?
that moment, the home run really was kind of like the moment that kind of put him in the history books in a way.
Because you kind of put in the box, even if you do go to the World Series. Because think about it, ultimately, what's it going to be like? Either, hey, he won, or B, like no surprise, Jackie Robinson was great. We set the whole movie up to show Jackie Robinson's really good playing baseball. Or
right, exactly, yeah.
Or B, man, his history kind of let us down, where they probably lost on a technicality. Just like,
you know what? That's what I'm talking about when I say that. Like, it's refreshing that the movie doesn't build up to like a big game, because it's like that bores me so much with sports movies, because it's like, yeah, like we're spending the whole time with these characters. Of course they're going to do well.
Yeah.
And most of the time, if they don't actually win, it's going to be the Rocky style, like, well, we won the moral victory. You know what I mean? It's going to be one of those two things.
There's only so many times you can pull the Rocky hat trick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so here's the thing. So Tiki, there's only really two scenes in this movie that were like two moments in this whole movie that were fabricated, but then they were blessed. They were essentially given the blessing by the widow, so they were okayed. Which basically the scene you were talking about, the big breaking the bat scene with him when he's comforted by Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
That scene did not really happen, but again, it was okayed by the widow, because she knew he had moments like that.
Are you saying the real Jackie Robinson like held his composure even better during that moment?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah, that's the thing.
God damn. I mean, that just gives me more respect for him.
Exactly. That's the thing. So that the other thing.
They literally had to fabricate, like, wow, that's crazy. They're like, this guy's not emotional enough, god damn it.
We need to let Chadwick act, darn it.
Exactly.
It feels like, okay, we got to give Chadwick the Oscar scene, even before
that absolutely is his Oscar scene. Yeah,
it is. And again, I think because it was so new, I don't think the movie was nominated.
It's very earned, because like I said, like Alan Tudyk is just giving the performance of a freaking lifetime out there.
Yeah. So, Ed Charles, the little boy who he was like by the train tracks, that bit there too, when the ball is tossed to him. So the first part of that scene did not happen. Basically, it was not randomly, hey, young Ed Charles, who
I figured that was some bullshit.
However, and every time I watch this movie, I was thinking, why did we do that weird bit at the end of the scene? Now, the weird bit at the end of the scene was real, though, where Ed Charles, as a boy, Jackie Robinson, was leaving the station on a train.
Really?
And he put his ear to the rail saying, I can still hear him. That was real.
So the only thing that wasn't real was him, like, literally tossing the ball back?
That's it. That's the only. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, and the tossing the ball, but that is a very Hollywood moment.
Yeah, and for all we know, he might have done it to other kids, but not Ed Charles. For all we know, I mean, it's entirely possible. But yeah, essentially, that was. But still, again, it's a very small liberty. It's a cinematic liberty to take. It basically gives you like a little nice, warm and fuzzy moment. It's not like a huge inaccuracy or anything. It's like, what if he threw the ball at the kid?
It's so funny because it's like Chadwick's performance is like so like not middle of the road, but just, he keeps his composure so well. So it's like on one level, it's like, we need the freak out scene. And then on the other level, it's like, we need a scene where we're like really, really connected to him.
Yeah.
All right.
So, okay, last two bits here. Again, assumedly, this is the movie that got him Black Panther for Captain America: Civil War. They were looking, because many times in Hollywood, the way it works, as we've seen in many Avengers movies, they see a movie that was really good, and they say, "I want that guy in my movie." That's what happened. And the other thing too, very hauntingly, and again, this thing brings us back to somewhat of a somber note here, because we are doing this in honor of Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, Chad Boseman, hauntingly, the movie that made his career, he died on Jackie Robinson Day.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, he died in like I think it was the exact day because basically I forget if they still do this for the entire month or not. Because at the end of the movie, during like the biopic credits, they tell you like everyone wears 42 in the month of April because essentially that's Jackie Robinson.
Right, right, right.
I
Yeah.
think there was specifically, I think they shortened it over years to specifically a Jackie Robinson Day, and that's when I hear Chadwick Boseman died. Very haunting, very very cyclical the way that works. Okay, so let's talk about the movie.
Whew. All right, where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, Tiki, I think the place to kind of start overall is that, I mean, Jackie Robinson's story itself. So the story itself is, in fact, a legendary one. Just the fact that you have the story of basically black exceptionalism that white people could not deny is the fact that, like, take the American pastime, especially for the white crowd, that is like everyone and their mother loves baseball. They even heard about baseball. They will sing baseball. They will know the sport baseball, even if you don't love it, you're going to know about it. And the fact that in like heat of racism in the 40s, like not in the like the really, but obviously the 60s was most infamous time where it was really apparent like, man, racism sucks, man, it's just terrible. In the 40s, it was very rampant as well, and it was just the idea we're going to look back and we're going to take that and we're going to like people will rally. They're going to have to form an opinion or accept that a black man is really good at baseball in a predominantly white sport. At the very least, we're going to black man is going to be in the white major leagues. So there is something just really in effect. He is breaking down barriers in many respects with using this American pastime as an olive branch to do it for the whole nation to kind of take notice, and it did make major strides. So already there's a very strong story at the heart of this, you know.
And in his performance, I really get the sense that, like, man, if he could, he would be, braggadocious about it. Like, he would rub it in people's faces if he could, and he wants to, like, because he knows how good he is.
Exactly.
So, like I said, the performance really does just kind of come down to, like, keeping the emotions in check.
What's really telling is you notice if I recall, in the beginning where he's on the team, he is sorry, when he's on the team, like he's kind of palling around a little bit with the players, and he's showing a little bit of cockiness there. You know, he's kind of going back and forth on the base. And we see him at the very beginning. I think he was in the black leagues before they try to get him on the Montreal Royals. And you see him being a little cocky, and he has to keep that on reserve and in check through the rest of the movie. So it's kind of nice to get a little snippet of like how Jackie Robinson is and how in check he is being.
Yeah, and then just just all this, the fact that there was the whole petition to even have him on the team. Dragon, let me bring up one of the issues I have with the movie that I don't necessarily think is fair. Like it's just kind of the nature of sports movies.
Yeah.
Is that I honestly have a little bit of a hard time telling the different teammates apart just because they all are literally wearing the same uniform and have the same hat and everything.
Tiki, I'm going to make you feel good right now. Okay.
You have the same issue?
It's really hard to take notes on this movie about the individual players.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Because I know about.
I mean, they're all really good character actors, but
unless you're a diehard sports fan, I don't think you're going to be able to keep straight who all those guys are. I don't think personally. I think you're going to be able to.
God, I feel so vindicated. That is easily the biggest flaw in the movie for me.
But again, that's a sports.
I mean, even down to like the big emotional moment, like. I wish we had tracked the arc with that particular character more.
Well, no,
you know what I mean?
They did, Tegan. Here's the thing. I think you can only tell apart like 3 to 4 of the guys on the team. I think honestly 3, because one of them is a guy who just gets traded to Pittsburgh, so that's really, But besides that guy, you have mainly 2.
That's what I'm saying though. The guy that gets traded to Pittsburgh, like I thought he was going to be like basically like the, kind of like the audience surrogate. Character to the team, but he's not. He just kind of drops out of it. Oh God, I don't know. There's a couple like that's what I'm saying about the structure of this movie. I feel like
I think all you really need is Pee Wee's the one who goes on the arc, and he's the one who does like the arm thing at the end. So he's the only important one. You can tell apart because he has the big scene with Harrison Ford during the third act. That's all you really need. But you're right though. I do think it's a sports. It's a kind of a sports movie, but unless you're doing a sports movie in which it's building the team in which you will absolutely be introduced to each of these individual guys and be able to tell them apart, I don't think yeah, I don't think it's going to be easy.
Dragon, you know what sports movie circumvents this issue by having it focus on the managers and not the players?
I'm going to guess Moneyball.
Moneyball.
Well, you know, I got it. All right. Anyway, so but I guess also the thing with Jackie Robinson's story just in itself is the fact that you have again being the first black baseball player in a white baseball league. He's absolutely singled out, so it's like the ultimate underdog story, and everyone loves an underdog story.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, so just more of the Robinson stuff. I love, and this is like an understated part of the movie. I love the understated relationship between Jackie and his wife Rachel. I really
it's
like.
So
that.
nice, isn't it?
It is. I love it. There's like a natural chemistry there. I think it's helped by the fact they're both kind of unknown actors at this point. There's no like,
yeah.
It's a love story without any forced scenes. Think about it, Tiki. I don't think we had any forced scenes that we've seen 100 biopics up to this point, where it's like, Jackie, I don't like this. I don't.
Oh
like
no, you're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah, she's just and it's not that she's like just a perfect woman with no issues.
No.
Like she's clearly going through hardships, but yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like she's helping him, but she's not intrusive into the plot. You know, it just feels like, you know, think about it, she was brought to tag along. None of the other players' wives were brought on the tour or brought on the, you know, like on the.
That does make her unique.
Yeah,
like I do like that they linger on that part of it.
Yeah, exactly. So perhaps we got to talk about Harrison Ford, how amazing he is in this movie.
Dude, is it not one of his best performances? I mean, seriously, he's a fucking, like, I legitimately didn't think he had it in him. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to say he's unrecognizable, but he is not doing the traditional, like, Harrison Ford, old man, grumpy growl. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, he's doing a growl, but it's not the Harrison Ford thing. Yeah. It's not like this way. Harrison Ford in his advancing years, when he's not doing indie, he does kind of do Ralph Garman on Hollywood Babylon. You remember Ralph Garman, right?
Yes, Draken. I remember Ralph Garman. Yes.
Tiki, at this point, I actually do have to ask.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair.
So, the fact is, Ralph Garman has an impression of Harrison Ford that's really funny, where he basically kind of generalizes the non-iconic Harrison Ford performances in the advancing years. He basically all he does is like, this is his impression. Like, he basically does this old guy mumble. But that's Harrison Ford. It's like Harrison Ford doing an interview.
Man from Pawn Stars.
He's basically doing like he's like, so Harrison, what's it like doing The Force Awakens? Well, you know, I'm just doing this and that.
Yeah, JJ brought me on to side, and
I broke this bone and I broke that bone, and then Harrison broke his back.
And the damn door hit me in the head.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah. And that's not how the Force works. And then, you know, so essentially, the point being that at times Harrison Ford could be. This is a lot more energized.
Have I shown you the one clip of Sacha Baron Cohen as Bruno doing the Harrison Ford quote unquote interview?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, it's very abrupt. It's literally just Sacha Baron Cohen is like this flamboyant, like, you know, fashion interviewer person. And it's very much like an on the street clip. And it's just like him approaching Harrison Ford in like a convenience store. He's like, Mr. Ford. And Harrison Ford's just like, fuck off. It's wonderful.
All right. Okay, so seriously, so Harrison Ford is Mr. Ricky. Mr. Ricky here, he is he's so great in this film because he gets to play a real character. He gets to play very much like a Perry White sort of character, you know, like the character.
It's a really good comparison for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, he's just this he feels there's a lot of Jack Kirby in there too. The guy feels like a real New Yorker. He feels like kind of a tough, like kind of a Jack Kirby character, practically. You know,
no, that's what I'm saying, Dragon. Like he's not, you know, you don't see a lot of just the usual Harrison Ford isms in his performance. You know, he's stripping a lot of that away.
Yeah, he's just this cigar chomping gruff Dodgers owner.
Yeah.
And his backstory I find utterly fascinating, especially on the rewatch, knowing what we know about this guy. Because think about it, his backstory is amazing. Which this guy is looking for redemption in Jackie Robinson because he managed the team. I think he managed the team in which there was a player of color on that team, and the way the real life, again, it's a real story. They didn't go into the gritty details of it, but essentially he alludes to this in the movie later on during the big scene with him and Jackie Robinson at the end. he there was this player who was black on the team, and he was mistreated, and he was just kind of crying in the corner one day, and he was basically like remarking to himself after all the stress got to him, he was not able to kind of face it head on like Jackie Robinson did. He basically in private, he was crying and he was like pawing at his skin, saying, "If this skin gives me nothing but trouble," essentially. It's horrifying. And he basically, if I wasn't this color, what I could do in life. And Mr. Ricky had to look at this, and he felt so guilty that he didn't stand by him, or he didn't stand up for him.
Oh man, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
remote. And so essentially, that's what he alludes to in this movie when he says, like, I could have done more for him, and that's why he wants to. He's looking for some redemption in Jackie Robinson, and it's. And I just love that as a motive for this character. I think it's really inspiring. Gives him a really good dynamic, Jackie Robinson, and he's looking out for him, but he's not coddling him either. He's not coddling.
No, he's not. Absolutely not. Yeah,
he's giving him an absolutely fair.
I mean,
shot.
like right from the first interaction with him, he's pretty much laying out like the whole plot of the movie. It's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of racist pieces of shit out there.
Yeah, they're going to call you the N-word. They're going to do this and that, and we're going to go to hotels, and they're going to turn you away. And I need you to tell me, are you going to hit them or not?
Yeah, that's really clever screenwriting, Dragon, to just basically be like, yeah, this is all the stuff that's going to happen.
Now, I wonder if you had this too. Mr. Ricky has some of the best lines in the movie, doesn't he? All the good lines in the movie. I mean, I think the initial scene with Jackie Robinson he has, of course, is like the exchange he has with Robinson, where he says, "So you want a player who's just going to take it, who's not going to fight?" He says, like, "No, I want someone who's going to be." Basically, someone who's going to not fight. Who's going to have the strength to not fight. Essentially, I'm butchering it, but essentially that's what it was. Someone who's going to be tough enough not to fight back.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, like later on too, he has that scene where he's talking to like the owner. I don't know if it was of the Cardinals or not, but one of the teams they went up against later on. The guy who says, "Don't bring the black player to the team." He says, "Do you think God likes baseball?" It's like, that's a great line. Do you think God likes baseball? He says, "What are you going to tell me?" He says, "Why didn't show up to that game? Because they had a black player." What are you going to tell him then?
Yeah, that's great.
Just great. Anyways, there's a lot of gold there with Mr. Ricky, and I love the fact they all call him Mr. Ricky because he has a really unusual name, Branch Ricky. Feels like it's a backwards
that
name.
Is a really weird name. Yeah,
feels like his name should be Ricky Branch.
Really odd name.
So,
like I mean, Ricky Branch. That makes sense. That sounds like a '90s name. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
hey, there's Ricky Branch.
Branch Ricky, and they give him a good, like, Mr. Ricky just sounds right. I like how they all call him that. Right, so now here's the thing, T. I love that this parallels each other. So we have Mr. Ricky who's kind of looking for a bit of redemption or a second bite at the apple, and a guy who feeds into this arc for him that also has kind of a diametrically opposite arc because he's more of an arc of representation. Let's talk about Wendell Smith, the writer.
Yeah, okay, so one cool thing about this actor is that he was actually in Bones and All, Dragon. He plays the father of the main girl in that movie, and he's only in it for about 10 minutes, but his role was really memorable because he essentially has to play the the father who abandons the cannibal daughter, but to understand where he's coming from. You know what I
like
mean?
My fingers, I don't want to lose them.
Right. So it's like he really does, like, he starts the movie, he really does have a memorable role in that movie. So before the crazy Mark Rylance shenanigans kick in. But
right.
Yeah, so that actor was actually pretty fresh in my mind.
So I like the dynamic with these guys because they have. I like that we don't really illuminate it until later in the movie, where it's just Jackie Robinson's kind of sided with this guy because Mr. Ricky's thinking, okay, well I'll send this black.
I feel like as far as the screenplay goes, he's very similar to Ralph the Driver.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good point. Yeah, he's very Ralph the Driver.
As far as function, and not just because he's literally the chauffeur, just because like he's kind of like the character that Jackie can kind of like bounce off of.
But reluctantly bounce off of, much like
right, yeah.
Well, that's the thing where Wendell here, so the idea here is that he's all on the surface, he's just a reporter trying to get the star story here to open up a little bit because Jackie Robinson's he's a humble guy, man of a few words. Because Jackie Robinson's very forthright in which he says, I'm doing this for the money so I can support my family, so I can have a family with my beautiful wife, essentially.
For my family!
Pretty much. but yeah, seriously, I looked at Jackie
Yeah.
Robinson's aspirations. He is not the great dichotomy of Jackie Robinson is that he's a hero he's a hero and he's very much like an icon, but he does not see himself like that one iota. He doesn't let any of that get to his head because he's just the guy playing baseball to get money for his family. That's like he's doing it for the money. He's doing it just to have a fair shot at like the major leagues. He's not looking for fame really. He's just all that. And because of that, he's kind of a man of few words. He's not doing like a lot of interviews. He's not really like trying to be like a beacon to his people, but he ends up being that, and he has to accept that. And you have like this wisecrack kind of dynamic between him and Wendell, where Wendell's trying to get him to open up and he doesn't, because Jack Rollins is the stoic type. And then later in the movie, we have this beautiful scene in which they're in the car, and Wendell just kind of like they kind of have it out, and Wendell basically tells him like, I want to be in the press box with all the other guys, but they won't let me in there. I have to type on like my knees while I'm watching the game.
Right.
And in real life, I think they lightly allude to this in the movie, but essentially this guy, as a kid, he wanted to be a ball player. But again, he was kind of discouraged from it because of his race. So Jackie Robinson was really inspiring to him. So basically, Wendell wants to be the guy to report on a black player, doing great, being able to kind of be accepted, and like showing off the black exceptionalism and kind of helping change things in a big way. That maybe things will change for him too, and maybe deep down things will change for the other aspiring black baseball players, like we see with Ed Charles, like the little kid on the train track thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. He has kind of a vested interest in telling this story and helping nurture. Like basically, he wants to give this story a happy ending. That's essentially Wendell Smith's his operative motive here. And what Boseman does in the scene with him is really great. When he in a very man of few words sort of way, he basically kind of like he says he apologizes and he says, I just don't like to. Basically, he doesn't want to be needed. He doesn't want to have to need people. He doesn't want to have to need Wendell. It makes a lot of sense,
Dragon. It really does, especially given the rest of the context of his character and the stoicism and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of the all-time great lines that Ricky has, where he says, "Your medicine, Jack."
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that's one of the great Harrison Ford lines. Yeah.
So that's the thing. So seriously, your medicine, Jack, while a hilarious line and it's catchy as all get out, it does fundamentally feed into Jackie Robinson's dilemma that we had voiced with Wendell in the car, where Jackie Robinson does not, he hates the fact that, that Wendell was kind of needed for him to go from place to place, that he's kind of needed to be handled and such. And Jackie, again, Jackie is confronted in that hallway scene by the fact that he is needed, that he needs to endure. The operative word here is need, kids. If you haven't noticed, it's that he needs to be this, he needs to be that, whether he likes it or not. It's basically in the culture at that time, it's like, hey, you need to do this. It's the rules coming down. He hates being told you need this, you need that. So he's kind of like eliminated that from his vocabulary practically. And it's like, hey, you actually need to do this. You need to endure for the betterment of mankind, essentially, which is it's a tall order.
Sure.
So all of that's really good.
All right, I feel like we have to talk about the Tudyk of it all.
Yeah, let's talk about it, man. So
because my God, it's the scene of the movie, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, so just to be clear again, so Ben Chapman, horrible racist. Alan Tudyk, wonderful.
Yeah, to be clear, we're not endorsing like
Okay, love Alan Tudyk. We love him. Okay, and he does a great job in this movie. It shows you that folks acting is being unlikable sometimes, and that's
absolutely.
Again,
but seriously, man, I did not know Alan Tudyk had this in him. I mean, oh my God.
When I watched it the first time, it was way before Alan Tudyk was just that guy who showed up a couple times, and like I did not pick on the very first time I watched him. And then you watch it the second time, he's like, when I taped it, it's like, oh my God, that's Alan Tudyk.
And
you rewatch, like, man, that's Alan Tudyk. So yes, so basically, Ben Chapman, he's the manager of the Phillies. He used to be a Dodger, and he's just this utterly deplorable racist manager who is hiding under. It's
this is legitimately like some of the most hardcore racism I've ever seen in like a mainstream, like feel good Hollywood movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because sometimes it is sanitized. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, like Green Book.
Come on, why?
I'm sorry.
Why can't we have
I'm
one
sorry. It was on the
conversation?
tip of my tongue the whole
Every
time. I'm
oh,
sorry.
always taking the bait on anyway.
Yeah, because it's not a great movie.
Anyway, point being, you're right. We do.
I was like tempted to bring Green Book up during the chauffeur conversation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, my point. Yeah, he uses pretty much every racial slur in the book. In this,
seriously,
in this
it is a barrage, man. It is shocking.
He even uses the one from Clerks too.
Oh God, yeah, he does. He does.
Uses the one. We're not laughing at insensitively. We're just laughing at that.
Oh God, that is
we
legitimately one of the funniest pieces of dialogue I think Kevin Smith has ever written.
Yeah, again, folks, we're not using that to be offensive. We're just using that just because it's like, so even the rarely used racial slurs are indeed used here. Anyway, yeah, so it's just I love that when they shot this, Tiki, Boseman very deliberately he wanted to keep his distance from Alan Tudyk so they could kind of come at this scene and kind of build up like an actual aggression, like an actual like disdain for what this guy's saying to him. So I hope they patched things up afterwards. I'd like to think they did. If they met each other on like the red carpet or something, I don't know. But yeah, so that's a really raw, like, again, just seeing Jackie Robinson, again, you feel again the whole as Ricky says later in the movie, he owes a lot, and this is from real life, like real interviews or headlines or something, where he does owe a debt of gratitude towards Ben Chapman, because Ben Chapman, in his horrible, ill-minded, racist ways, did make Jackie kind of a martyr to the public in terms of like everyone's going to sympathize for him, seeing how terribly that one guy treated him. And he helped bring the Dodgers together to rally around Jackie Robinson. So in a sense, he was just kind of the symbol of like all the racism embodied in one terrible guy who was also a baseball player. It's like, and he's the enemy baseball player, which
I mean, for a movie, Dragon, it's like you really do need something like that. It's like, because the movie does have other bits of racism for sure, but I feel like he's certainly the face of it.
I'm gonna pull a Batman Begins quote on you, Tiki.
Oh God.
Sometimes we need dramatic examples to shake us from apathy.
There we go.
Dramatic example, Tudyk. Yes, and of course that leads to the very famous the bat breaking scene, in which, again, understandably, after all of that, and how the real Jackie Robinson did not do this, at the very least not a reported way.
The dude is like fucking, like, forget Black Panther. Jackie Robinson's the real superhero, dude. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, you have to imagine, even if this historically never happened, at some point, you figure he had to have done this at some point after all the anger from all the bad stuff he's done. So he's breaking that. And I love how confined the space is. I love the outside's like right behind him and all the lighting. He's like in this confined hallway. It's a private affair. Just breaking that bat, and then very conveniently, but in a good way, Ricky because Ricky did see the abuse he was taking on the field, so it does stand the reason this guy can only take so much. I'm gonna console him when he goes for a breather. And just him being there, seeing Robinson as lowest point, and the fact that he warned him this would happen, but he's not like rubbing in his face here. He's being really supportive in the moment,
Totally.
And he's kind of talking him off the ledge in a sense, Then the whole, like, "You're medicine, Jack." It's like the ultimate pep talk. It's what he needs. Yeah.
Right.
Also, I love the resolution with Ben Chapman, where Ben Chapman was such an embarrassment to the Phillies. He had to do a lot of PR fixing here, a lot of PR repair. So they had to do that picture. And Jackie Robinson, I love the glee at which Jackie Robinson takes the pictures. You know what? I don't want to touch you either. Let's use the back. Because I think on some level,
kind of like turns it into like a passive aggressive, like, "Hey, you don't want to touch me either, right? So let's just do this."
Exactly. It's great. I love that. I don't know. I just love the glee at which he's just suggesting that, It's just like, let's not touch skin. I don't want, you're filthy to me. I don't want to touch you either. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess broadly, just to talk about some of the Dodgers that we can pick out of the lineup, is to talk about the field. So Ralph Branca. Now, Ralph Branca, you should recognize because he's in one of your shows, and I know him from a bunch of short stuff. Hamish Linklater. I don't know if he's related to the Richard Linklater or not. I don't know, but Hamish Linklater. This guy, he's from Midnight Mass.
Oh, okay.
He's from Midnight Mass. He was the brother on The Old Adventures of New Christine, and he was on the.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever see the Crazy Ones with Rob Williams? Did you? I know
No,
you.
I can't say I did.
Yeah, he was in that too, and he was Doctor Doom's assistant in the Fantastic Four movie. So
Random.
that guy. I know Rand. Well, I mean, this guy's a good kind of like journeyman of an actor.
Uh-huh.
So he played like the friendly, like the Italian player on the team, Ralph, the one who said like he had the awkward line about "shower with me, Jackie." I mean, shower with
Oh,
us. I
that
know
was
the
such a good
situation.
human moment, man.
Yeah, that's the thing. So
That was really
that was
fun.
him. So Ralph was like the only nice guy on the team from the get go.
It's
That
like,
was
who
that.
hasn't been in a position like that where we've said something that it's like, oh shit, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the management here. I want to talk about some like the trainers and the managers. So the management specifically. So Clay, I believe Clay Hopper. So Clay Hopper is Brett Cullen. He was Thomas Wayne in the Joker movie. That guy. He plays the Montreal Royals coach, and he has that great moment where he gets a talking to by Ricky, and he basically says after he lets kind of like the N word slip there, after he says he's superhuman almost, it's like he's still an N word. He's like, you know what, you will find yourself unemployed if you do not treat Mr. Robinson fairly and objectively. But I like that guy did he had a bit of an arc, and I think more impressively, let's talk about Chris Maloney, man. Yeah, Chris Maloney is Leo, as Leo, the Dodgers coach before he got fired for having the extramarital affair. That guy. He chews out the players after the petition, the whole petition affair. He's the guy who's like I don't care what color he is. He's gonna play great for us. And he's looking very forward to working with him, and he gives that inspiring speech to the players, tearing them down, saying, he's only the first, boys. He's only the first. Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's I don't know. It's pardon me, folks. So I'm sorry. Just Chris Maloney is always does a great job here. Just kind of playing a guy very straightforward here. So I really chewing everyone out. He's a womanizer. He's very much a man of the 40s, but he's absolutely a stand-up guy who loves baseball, and he's putting that before any prejudices that are there.
And my internet randomly dropped.
I noticed. Yeah. So, Tiki, how do you feel about Chris Maloney?
Oh, Chris Maloney. Well, like I said, he's kind of the character where it's like when you first come in, you think he's going to be like the almost like the audience POV player, but instead he kind of just, I don't know. That's the thing with a lot of these characters, Dragon, is that I feel like a lot of them have good setups. They just don't really have very thorough arcs.
Well, the thing with Maloney is, and again, there's kind of a weird thing between the movie and I guess real life, because it did happen in real life, so I can't really say it impeded on the story. But the fact that if Maloney is there, Robinson has kind of a staunch defender, and we can't really have that, or else there's no conflict. So Maloney, his character gets kind of ousted because of the extramarital affair. But I love that speech that he gave, like warning the players who made the petition, like he's only the first, boys. They're coming. Okay, we gotta grow with the times here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it's the idea of a man of the 40s who loves the game. It's good stuff there. And what did you think about the manager of the Montreal Royals who got the talking to by Ricky?
Well, I mean, once again, I feel like he's the guy who gets recruited, right?
Well, no, he's the guy. He's the manager who's when Ricky says, "Oh, he's almost superhuman," he says, "No, he's still an N-word," and then Ricky chews him out. That whole.
Oh yeah. I mean,
and then he's nice to Jackie Robinson. He's still standing by him for the whole. Because basically, the movie is basically in two parts. There's the Montreal Royals section, then there's the Dodgers section. That's basically what the movie breaks down. So he's in the first half. Yeah. So. Tiki, perhaps we should talk about Jackie Robinson's kind of rise to legend status. Perhaps we should kind of talk about the reaction to Jackie Robinson, the player in the movie, which incorporates both the good and the racism.
I mean, yeah, I feel like the movie, like cinematically, does a really good job, and it makes sense as far as the staging goes, because you have the colored section with the people who are like really rooting him on, and then the outward racists. You know what the most effective moment of racism, probably besides
Oh
Tudyk,
yeah,
was for me?
I know what it was. You can
The
tell me what it
kid.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, God, what I love about that, what's so haunting about that is that before the father like goes into his racist bullshit, you're just thinking like, oh, this is nice. A dad out with his kid having a nice day at the ball game.
And I
And
love
he's like,
this
no,
kid's
you
reaction.
N-word, get out of here.
I love the kid's reaction. This and Tiki, that moment is epitomizes the origins of racism for the next
Totally,
generation.
totally.
How it gets passed down, where you see a kid just having a good time with his father and he wants to fit in, so he reluctantly is like calling Jackie Robinson the N word, and you feel bad for the kid though.
No, you absolutely do. You feel like he's almost being pressured to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's gut wrenching. And I like that on the flip. I love that we have like two point of view characters with the kids for two scenes. You know, we have Ed Charles, who again he grows up to win the World Series. It's the fact that he is, he's like the kid and his mother. I love it. It's him and his mother there, and his mother is they're hearing the racial epithets and stuff, and the mother is seeing her son so invested in his hero, like in like the idea of a black baseball player. That, again, as we know, this kid likes baseball, and he would love the dream of like being a major league baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
So he's praying for him, and the mother is
Yeah,
seeing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
those little bits there. And then, of course, so later on, they have like the kid who then sees like Jackie Robinson being embraced, and he's kind of having given pause. And I think ultimately that's the message there. He's making ripples through both communities. Like we have like that an initially intimidating scene where Jackie Robinson's like about to defend his wife, and the guy's saying, "Hey, what happened to you when they took you out of the game?" Just because that sheriff was on the pitcher's mound, he took you out of the game. You lost the game because of that. That wasn't right. You're really good.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
moments like that. And then of course we have terrifying moments where you have the old white guy come up and he gives him like that stern warning, like, is the N word in the house?
God.
You just but well, hey sir, you got a problem? No, I don't have a problem. I'm going home, but I'm not. Other people are going to be back, and it ain't going to be pretty. And then of course they have to get Jake Robinson out of the middle of the night and everything. It's a real scary. It's really scary.
No, that scene is almost shot like a horror movie.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Let's see, and then trying to see if there's anything before we get to the big the big Pee Wee scene, but I don't know. I guess I like that. When he's staying at the house with Wendell finds for him, we have like the black people that are staying there, just saying like like, hey, we love what you're doing for us. And I
You
think
know what?
slowly
I
but
almost kind
surely,
of wish there would have been one or two more scenes with them because I really did like that dynamic. And again, it kind of fits into Jackie's whole like I don't like having taking help from people thing.
oh for sure, no, yeah, you're not, yeah, it's a good point. And I like that. I like that Ricky made efforts to find like a nice home for him to stay into when he would stay on. When he would go to these places. He would find like nice houses that had black families in them, and not like he wouldn't just like put them in like a bad motel or something.
Totally, totally.
Really nice. So let's see. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure we didn't miss anything.
You're good.
Okay. Well, again, we already kind of talked about how great the hallway scene is, which is wonderful. Okay, so okay, so let's talk about Pee Wee and mainly the letter scene. That's what we should talk about. So Pee Wee Reese, essentially, so Jackie Robinson is a shortstop, and Pee Wee Reese, if I understand it right, he was the shortstop of the Dodgers team. So the idea is Jackie Robinson was his competition. So this guy had every reason not to like Jackie Robinson, and he was kind of in this state of like, well, we'll see how the guy plays. Just confident that he would not be outshined, and of course, ultimately is outshined, and he's getting uncomfortable. He gets a letter from his town calling him a carpetbagger. Tiki, he was called the C word. He was called a carpetbagger. Can you believe it?
Oh God, yeah.
I hope we don't get demonetized by saying carpetbagger. Oh goodness. Oh me. Oh my.
You're saying this as if we are monetized.
Well, that was what I was going for, but thanks for illuminating that. Oh no. But yes, it's the fact that just the way Harrison Ford plays this scene, just this awesome scene in which he puts everything in perspective and really just tells Pee Wee to wake up. Yeah, tells him to wake up, and we just see like all the other horrifying and probably real death threats that Jackie Robinson had received in
Uh-huh.
life, like we're gonna kill your baby boy, we're gonna do horrible stuff to your wife, you get out of the game, don't play N-word this, N-word that, and just I love that Harrison Ford is like just dropping it on this guy. He says, "Oh, but you got one letter and you're called a carpetbagger." And it's like, he just wants to play the game. He just the FBI is looking into death threats right now. It's like yeah.
Yeah, that's great. It's kind of like a twisted like anti-Miracle on 31st Street.
Well, 34th Street. Yeah.
34th Street, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're thinking of Recess.
Yes, you're right. I am thinking of Recess.
Plus, Recess was 30. Recess was 31st or 33rd. I think it was 31st. Anyway, yeah. So we have this. Also, we have another great Ricky line here where he says, "Like the world's not so simple anymore."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Also, like all the ball players are kind of coming to his aid there during that. So there's another thing they kind of fudged for the element of cinema. It is a very minor thing, and I think a really justifiable thing here, where when Jackie Robinson is beamed while at the plate, they hit him in the face with the ball. In real life, he was just hitting the elbow, but let's face it, Tiki, the elbow is not cinematic.
No.
It's not. So they hit him in the face, but also it pays off to the line that's kind of we're looking at right now as our visual image right now is the fact that it's like, Jackie, what are you gonna do if one of those pitchers throws one at your head? I'll duck. So we're seeing this is an answer to the question. The real
I like how the whole thing is like him getting hit with a ball by a pitcher is like kind of built up throughout the whole movie almost. Like
because he is
ducking.
Yeah, because he is ducking a lot, and he ultimately does get hit. But I love think about the answer we do get, Tiki, is that he gets hit by the ball, and what happens? His teammates come to his rescue. Mm-hmm. They're getting in, Ralph's getting in the guy's face.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So that's really nice, and they're kind of rallying him. And then Pee Wee, after hearing what Jackie's been through, we have this really nice bit where he puts his arm around them when they're playing the big game to qualify for the for the World Series. And yeah, it's just really nice. It's him putting his arm around him. Of course, here's the thing. Well, I think this photo it did happen, but they weren't able to actually capture it on photograph. So they this was going off the story and what was reported. Just it was never captured on film. If I understand it right, I think that's because the Chapman thing was on Time Magazine or something. Like the Chapman thing was like an actual PR thing they did take pictures of. Let's see. So I guess then lastly, just Ricky here. He says the whole. He kind of voices like almost Dwayne McDuffie's dream for Static Shock. Ultimately, for me, where he says he saw a white child pretending to be Jackie Robinson by rubbing dirt on his hands and doing the stance and everything.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And that's the dream. Like Dwayne McDuffie has many times always said, back in the day, he would say he'd love to see a white kid dressed like Static Shock at a con. As
Static, sure,
totally. At a con, it's like his dream come true. Like kind of the color barrier.
I mean, granted, we don't endorse blackface, of course.
Well, no, and that's the thing, though. Is again, it's an earnest dream, but now we kind of admire that sort of thing. Not blackface, obviously, but still, it's the idea
in hindsight, culturally.
No, but still, it's the fact that we are kind of at a point where we want to get to a point where like a white child will like put on a Black Panther costume and not feel any guilt about it.
Right. I hear that.
And I think we're
a better analogy.
I think we're at a point where like kids can get away with that, but adults, it's
probably not.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. It feels like it's a shame that we can't fully get there, But again, we're still getting there. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah. So with the how do you're a guy who loves like kind of a credits ending. So the ending that we get ultimately in this movie, because after we have the beautiful scene of Harrison Ford telling him why he did all this, why he wanted to be there for a player, and we have this equivocated to this beautiful moment where he says, "You made me love the game again." Because we started this movie with Ricky not loving his job. He's saying, "I hate my wife hates my job." He tells me I'm too old. I'm not good at it anymore, and I shouldn't do it. And Jackie Robinson kind of reinstilled his love of the game. So he thanks Jackie Robinson for making him love the game again. And the end of the movie is Harrison Ford isn't even in the same scene. He's listening while at an empty stadium to Jackie Robinson hitting a home run, like grand slam essentially. And he's running the plates and he's running home. We cross-cut him running home to his wife. Like,
it is a good cross-cut for sure.
It's a good crosscut. Do you think we should end the movie at a different point, or do you think that's good?
No, I think it was a good place to end it.
Okay.
And
And
then I
yeah,
really like how we did, the traditional text on the screen of what happened to everyone. I really like how that's framed as a ball game. I feel like that was a good visual choice.
that was a good choice. And we have Ed Charles. I was so elated when I completely forgot about this rewatching the the little kid won the World Series. It's a little manufactured with that ball catch, but it's still really good.
Yeah.
But seriously, it's a nice scent again because he inspired him to win the World Series. Though it's the same thing, he got there, and they all wear 42. And there was a line in the movie I completely forgot about where I think there was a joke about they'll all be wearing 42 at this point. So in the future, they actually did all wear 42 during the Jackie Robinson month.
For sure.
And the number 42 is I have to hope this is still true. The only number ever to be retired in baseball has been the number 42. That's really special. That's really
I
nice.
would hope that's true. Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, Miles Morales, his number in the big number in Spider-Man movie, they use 42 a lot because of Jackie Robinson's. And not
Well, I mean, 42 is also like the big number in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy too.
Well, I know, but it's very directly that is that is intentionally Jackie Robinson pulling it to 42 there.
Oh, is it?
Right.
That's cool.
I was saying it's like they're literally pulling a Jackie Robinson. That's why basically Miles Morales won a lottery to. He won like a lottery to get into the Brooklyn Institute school, and the number was 42, so they kind of make that a thing in his comics.
Nice.
Anyway, but yeah, that's. I mean, Tiki, is there anything else you wanted to cover in the movie?
No, not really. I think we're good.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, just as far as the legacy goes, Dragon, I think it is just very interesting the fact that we have Boseman kind of at the start of his career, and he's almost kind of mirroring Jackie Robinson in a way, because he's ultimately going to go on to, become another just African-American trailblazer with his, taking on Black Panther. There's, of course, been black superheroes before, we'll point to the Blades and everything like that. But, obviously Black Panther being the first one to be just super mainstream and a national phenomenon. So it's a really interesting kind of sort of, history kind of mirroring reality with this movie. And again, I don't necessarily think it's the most compelling movie in the world as far as just the actual plot line goes. I wish there was a little bit more of a hook to the framing device. I don't know what that would be, but, and, also Dragon, like I said, I'm glad I'm not the only one who was very lost in the minutia of all the players, one of which is apparently Toby Huss.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick him out for the life of me, but
yeah,
he's
it's unfortunate, but yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think this is a really good place to start with Black History Heroes. I'm very enthusiastic about our theme this month, and I'm looking forward to the other two.
Isn't it kind of ironic, Tiki?
What?
You can't tell the white players apart in the movie.
That is kind of ironic, yes. That
you
is.
gotta wonder if a party has to wonder if that's intentional, doesn't it?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that sounds like some Nolan level shit right there.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, look, fun. I mean, looking at the legacy for me, I think the thing to track with Chadwick Boseman, I think maybe just with these, and I think with the roles that he played so well, the most iconic roles for him. I mean, the best way to describe Chadwick Boseman is that the man's a conduit. The man's a conduit for greatness. Which he just kind of is a lightning rod for channeling the spirits of these characters these characters and these figures that he's going on to play, and they held a place in history. So I mean, he literally very much felt like as close as we're going to get to reviving Jackie Robinson for about for 2 hours. Yeah, that's as close as you're going to get, and that's kind of the magic that Boseman kind of brought into these things. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. For anyone who's going to be again, for people nowadays, you get a sense they could just show this movie in history class, and again, it's
absolutely. Yeah, this movie would be like a go-to in history class. I mean, it's a lot better than fucking Gandhi. All due respect to Gandhi.
That's a really aggressive slam at Gandhi.
No, I know. It's just everybody watches Gandhi. I don't I mean, Gandhi is it's a good history lesson, but it's not really a great movie.
Right. I guess my point is, like, if I were a kid, I mean, I don't know, I still get a lot of, the Jackie Robinson story just reading
Dragon,
about
it's
it,
a
but
VHS. You can watch Gandhi right on this.
yeah,
Do you know what that's referencing? You
a
know that.
little. Go on. What's a
Oh,
reference?
it's a Roger Ebert bit. It was like when Roger Ebert and Siskel were talking about VHS, they were using Gandhi as the example of, like, you can fit all of Gandhi onto one tape. It's like, of all the movies they could have used as an example.
It does raise the question: can you watch Schindler's List on one VHS, or is that like multiple?
I actually think both Gandhi and Schindler's List and Titanic were probably all double tapes.
Yeah, that's because I know Godfather was a double tape. Anyway,
weirdly enough, my parents actually own the double tape for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, double tape of what?
Of Gandhi.
Oh, of Gandhi, right.
And Ben-Hur. I remember Ben-Hur was a double tape.
All right, anyway. So if I get back to my thought here. Yeah, I mean, look, as a kid, I mean, I still got a lot of reading it, but it feels like, man, this would have been an amazing way to be introduced to Jackie Robinson. This is very much I don't think there's been another attempt at a Jackie Robinson movie at none that I can roll. The only other time I've seen Jackie Robinson represented in media was in Lovecraft Country. Rather impressively.
For sure.
Mind you, rather impressively, not quite the one-for-one history, mind you, but it was a cool representation. But still, this feels very much like this is a definitive take on that story. It feels like, again, I think mired in history in all the right ways, and it is I don't know, just again, I think it's again, I mean, to go back to, again, it's Chadwick Boseman kind of delivering kind of a classic Americana, like a first Avenger, if you will. It's a man who kind of goes on a journey and becomes a hero to everybody. It becomes kind of like something to aspire to. It's really nice.
Well said. Well said. All right, well, I got to admit, Dragon, I am really looking forward to Get On Up now, because, it's going to be a really interesting kind of contrast between Jackie Robinson is obviously such a soft-spoken person, and then Get On Up, James Brown, it's like, I'm really excited about that.
Oh, you have no idea what you're in for, my friend. I'm going to say that much.
Well, I mean, I guess my point of reference for what I'm in for is probably Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, as far as, like, the style of performance. But yeah, I'm excited.
I have a comparison, but I don't know if I should tell you or not. Do you want me to tell you?
Sure, I'm curious.
Okay, imagine if it's kind of like, what if you put Chadwick Boseman as James Brown, but mixed it with Rocket Man?
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know how apt the comparison is, but there is definitely a Rocket Man vibe. So it's kind of like, what if Chadwick Boseman?
Cool. I like that.
So that's the thing. So it feels, I mean, I'm not saying it's a one for one for like Rocket Man, but there's a lot of similarities to Rocket Man, which is, it's kind of course, Rocket Man being really good in how they approach that with a music biopic. So I don't know. I think you're in for a treat.
All right.
As a really good director, I think you're going to like on it. But anyway. Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's all for now. Until next time, when we look at the next film in Chadwick Boseman's catalog that showed us the world's not simply black or white, but brimming with color as well as character.
On the next installment of Black History Heroes. Your medicine, Jack.